The moon hung like a pale, watching eye in the midnight sky as Flight 666 taxied to the runway. Passengers fidgeted in their seats, nerves tightly wound, their breath visible in the frigid air. It was an eerie night to be flying. Megan, a young woman with a penchant for adventure, stared out of the oval window, heart racing. The plane's engines roared, drowning out the feeble attempts of the wind to comfort her. The flight attendants moved about, their forced smiles betraying a hint of unease. As the plane ascended, unease settled in the cabin like a shroud. The lights flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Megan's neighbor, an elderly man, clutched his armrests, eyes wide. "I've flown countless times, but this doesn't feel right," he muttered. A baby's cry pierced the air, echoing the tension that gripped the plane. A flight attendant hurried down the aisle, offering reassuring words. But even her voice quivered as she spoke. Megan leaned back, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread. She closed her eyes, hoping that sleep might offer a brief escape from the unsettling atmosphere. But her dreams were far from comforting. In her sleep, Megan found herself in the cabin once more, but it was different. The plane was shrouded in darkness, and the passengers seemed like mere silhouettes. The overhead lights flickered wildly, and every time they went out, the shadows seemed to stretch and grow, taking on a life of their own. Megan's heart raced as she realized that the shadows were reaching out, touching the passengers, whispering, or was it the wind? The baby's cries turned to eerie laughter, blending with the unsettling hum of the engines. She awoke with a start, her heart pounding, only to find the cabin still dark, the shadows still dancing. The elderly man beside her was whispering something incoherent, his eyes wide and unblinking. The intercom crackled to life, and the pilot's voice cut through the tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. Please remain in your seats and fasten your seatbelts." Megan's pulse quickened. The darkness outside the windows seemed impenetrable, as if the plane had been swallowed by the night itself. She exchanged glances with her seatmate, and they both felt the palpable fear that gripped everyone on board. Minutes felt like hours as the plane continued to climb, the air growing colder, the shadows more sinister. Megan's breath fogged up the window as she peered out, only to see a figure standing on the wing. It was a man, his features obscured by the darkness. He pounded on the window, his mouth moving in frantic pleas. Panic coursed through Megan's veins. Who was he? How was he standing on the wing at this altitude? Megan turned to the elderly man, seeking reassurance, but he was staring past her, eyes locked on the figure outside. "Don't listen to them," he whispered, his voice barely audible. A deep vibration rumbled through the cabin, drowning out the man's words. The plane shook, and the lights went out completely. The darkness enveloped everything. In the pitch-black void, Megan felt a presence beside her. She could sense the shadows coalescing, their icy fingers brushing against her skin. And then, a voice echoed in her mind, a chorus of whispers that seemed to come from all directions. "Join us," the voices murmured, a chilling symphony of persuasion. "Let go of the light. Embrace the shadows." Megan's heart raced, and she fought against the voices, against the oppressive darkness that threatened to consume her. With a surge of willpower, she fumbled for the overhead light switch and flipped it on. The cabin lit up, and the shadows retreated, their sinister influence waning. Megan gasped for air, her heart still racing, but the presence was gone. The intercom crackled again, this time with the pilot's voice full of relief. "We've stabilized the situation. Please remain calm as we work to bring the plane back to normal conditions." As the plane descended, the darkness outside began to recede, and the first hints of dawn painted the sky. The tension in the cabin gradually eased, replaced by a collective sigh of relief. Megan glanced at the wing, but the mysterious figure was nowhere to be seen. Had it all been a hallucination, a trick of the mind brought on by fear and exhaustion? The plane touched down with a gentle jolt, and the passengers erupted into applause, a mix of gratitude and release. Megan looked out of the window one last time, the memory of the chilling flight still fresh in her mind. As she stepped onto solid ground, the morning sun warming her skin, she couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were still out there, waiting, watching, and that the darkness held secrets that were best left undiscovered.